Atlanta home prices are up nearly 60% since 2019. And you know what happened to the sellers who left because they thought prices would correct? They're still waiting. This video is about the people who sold their in-town Atlanta homes and now wish they hadn't. After 28 years in this market, I've seen this regret show up for 7 main reasons, and I'm gonna walk you through each one of them today. Community, Oakhurst. This may not be the first reason you expected. I mean, this doesn't really feel like a real estate issue, it feels more like a lifestyle issue. But that's the whole point. Oakhurst sits in the southwest corner of the city of Decatur, about 6 miles east of downtown Atlanta. And when someone sells a home in a neighborhood like this, they're selling the setup of their daily social life. I think people don't always understand what that means. This place is a nationally recognized gold-level walk-friendly community. That's one of the highest levels given by the Walk Friendly Communities program. The city also has a silver bicycle-friendly community designation. These labels can sound a little too marketing, but they actually help explain why the neighborhood works the way it does. You have short blocks, sidewalks, a walkable village core at Eastlake Drive and Oakview Road, and enough density that people are close to each other. McCoy Park sits right inside the neighborhood with 9 acres, a pool, baseball fields, a skate park, a fitness zone, basketball, and a playground. The recreation center has sports leagues, fitness classes, and cultural events, and the Oakhurst Neighborhood Association holds monthly open meetings. And all of that creates the kind of community that happens without scheduling. Kids move between houses because the streets are quiet enough and close enough for that to happen. Adults run into each other at the park, in the village, at the neighborhood association meeting without having to plan it. Keep this in mind as we go on, because when we talk about the Beltline later, you'll see the same idea of daily habit play out on a much bigger scale. Stay with me. Now, when a seller trades Oakhurst for more square footage somewhere newer, they usually get what they paid for: more space, more peace, and more room. But that easy sense of community becomes something you have to plan and drive to. The seller gained square footage. They lost the version of community that only exists when the streets are close enough for it. That trade-off never shows up in the math, which is why the financial side is worth looking at next. Before we get into that, I want to pause here for a second. If you're watching this video because you're weighing a decision about selling an in-town Atlanta home, or you're thinking about buying into one of these neighborhoods and want to understand what you're getting, my contact info is in the description below. So back to the market. Market timing, Buckhead. The most common version of seller regret I hear sounds like this: I sold at the top. And the assumption inside that sentence is that selling at the top means you made a smart exit. That only works if you can also buy low. And in-town Atlanta, that second part hasn't happened. Buckhead is where this shows up most clearly because the data is pretty clear. Single-family homes now average around $1.8 million, up nearly 60% from roughly $1.1 million just 7 years ago. That's the 7th year in a row of appreciation. And yes, sales volume has dropped sharply. Last year, about 715 single-family homes sold, which is roughly half of the 2021 peak of nearly 1,440 sales. But prices didn't follow volume down. They kept going up. According to Buckhead's own market analysis, the reason comes down to something called the lock-in effect. Sellers who don't need to sell are staying put. Homeowners who locked in sub 3% mortgages in 2020 and 2021 don't have much reason to trade that rate for a current one, which is still roughly double. Nationally, about 80% of outstanding U.S. mortgages have rates below 6%. That creates a real freeze in supply. And when supply is frozen in a neighborhood with a limited housing stock like that, prices can stay high even when fewer homes are selling. I want you to hold on to this lock-in dynamic because later when we talk about appreciation, it's going to change how this whole decision looks. Stick around. So the seller who left in 2022 or 2023 because they thought a correction was coming has been waiting for something that still hasn't shown up. The broader metro Atlanta market saw the home price growth essentially stall out by late 2025, one of the softest stretches since the pandemic surge. But Buckhead didn't follow that pattern. Its average single-family price ticked up again last year, and the condo and townhome market moved even faster. Average condo and townhome prices rose 11.5% to about $573,000, driven in part by new luxury tower deliveries. Selling at the top is a strategy when you have somewhere to land at a lower price. Without that, it can become a well-timed mistake. The local analysis puts it plainly. You can build new subdivisions in Forsyth County, but you cannot create more Buckhead. So for someone who sold 3 years ago, the re-entry math is now a double squeeze. A higher price on the same home and a higher rate on the new mortgage. There was no clean exit. And that financial regret tends to sharpen over time. But there's another kind of regret that has nothing to do with money. Emotional attachment. Inman Park. It's a random night and someone is sitting on the couch in their new house. The one with the bigger kitchen, the extra bedroom, and the yard they wanted. And they're on their phone opening a Zillow alert for an address that isn't theirs anymore. Real estate professionals and behavioral researchers both talk about this pattern. People can stay attached to a former home long after they sell it. It's more common than sellers expect. And in in-town Atlanta, I would say Inman Park is one of the neighborhoods where I see it the most. This is Atlanta's first planned residential suburb and its first electric trolley neighborhood. It was developed in the late 1880s by civil engineer Joel Hurt as a garden suburb connected to downtown by the city's first electric streetcar line along Edgewood Avenue. The Victorian homes, about 300 of them in the historic core, sit on generous lots with a mature tree canopy that took more than a century to grow. Historic district protections limit new supply to infill, which means the neighborhood can't grow in any major way. What exists now is close to what has existed for over 140 years. You can't buy your way into this kind of architectural history anywhere else around. And then there's the Inman Park Festival and Tour of Homes, Atlanta's largest all-volunteer festival, held the last full weekend of April each year. It returned this year for its 54th edition. When something comes back to the same streets every April for that long, it becomes part of your life as a resident. It's one of those things that you plan around, invite people to, and remember after you leave. On the market side, the 30307 zip code, which covers Inman Park and the surrounding neighborhoods, showed a median of high 700s this March. So the seller who made a smart financial decision, capturing equity, moving to something newer, simplifying, usually didn't think through the emotional side of leaving. That part shows up later, when they're not there for festival weekend or when the new neighborhood doesn't have anything like this at any price. Inman Park looks like Atlanta before Atlanta forgot what it wanted to be. And that's something sellers frequently understand from the outside after they've already left. Which takes us to another kind of regret, the one tied to what you have to do now that used to just happen by default. Location. Jefferson Park. There's a specific kind of daily friction that never shows up in a real estate transaction. It's not in the inspection report or on the disclosure form, and the listing sheet doesn't have a line item for it. But it shows up every morning when you get in the car. Jefferson Park is a historic neighborhood of about 1,100 homes developed in the late 1920s, just southwest of Atlanta's city limits in East Point. The Jefferson Park Neighborhood Association describes daily life there pretty clearly. Residents enjoy our geographic location near the city and the airport, the convenient MARTA station with ample free parking, and the easy access to highways 85, 75, and 166. So in one residential neighborhood, you're less than 10 minutes from downtown Atlanta. You're about 4 miles from Hartsfield-Jackson, the world's busiest airport. You have direct rail service to the terminal through East Point Station on MARTA's red and gold lines. And you have I-85, I-75, I-285, and Route 166 all within a 10-minute drive. That mix is tied to the specific geography of Atlanta's southwest side. You can't recreate it at the same price point somewhere else in the metro area. You can't just move that access. Later, when we talk about the Beltline and appreciation, this same kind of access is part of what makes the right in-town neighborhood so powerful over time. But for now, think about what happens when that access is gone. A seller who left Jefferson Park for more space may still end up losing the commute they used to have. The airport that was once a MARTA train away is now 45 minutes away with traffic. The downtown commute that used to have 3 interstates within 10 minutes now means dealing with I-20 westbound on a Tuesday morning. The errands that used to be close now take planning, plus 20 minutes each way. None of that showed up on the listing sheet. So this is the kind of location that can work for years without anyone really thinking about it. And that realization tends to show up right around the time the new neighborhood starts to feel normal, which is also when they start noticing the lifestyle change. Lifestyle, West Midtown. Walk out your front door on a weekday evening. The food hall is 6 minutes away on foot, and you didn't plan this. You just decided at 6:45 to go. The live music you can hear from 2 blocks away wasn't on your calendar. You stay for an hour, walk home, and it just feels like any other night. That's what daily life in West Midtown looks like. And it's the first thing that changes when you move. This place sits on Atlanta's Upper West Side, roughly 2 to 3 miles northwest of Peachtree Street, with MARTA access on the red and gold lines at Art Center Station. This is the closest rail connection to the broader West Midtown area. It's a former industrial area that has become one of Atlanta's busiest live, work, and play areas. The main draw is the Works ATL, an 80-acre mixed-use development on Atlanta's Upper West Side. It's built around Chattahoochee Food Works, a large food hall with about 30 vendors, a couple of bars, and outdoor seating that runs most evenings. You have Fox Brothers Barbecue, Brash Coffee Roasters, a concept from a Michelin-starred chef, and more than 24 other operators. The same neighborhood also has the Interlock, Westside Provisions District, Star Metals District, King Plow Art Center, the Goat Farm, and Atlanta Contemporary, with the Beltline Westside Trail running through all of it. When that kind of density is within walking distance, it changes how you live. You try the new vendor because you pass it on the way home. The gallery becomes a Thursday default because going takes almost no effort. The spontaneity just happens because proximity makes it easy. Once a seller moves further out, the same dinner means coordinating a car, 20 minutes each way, parking, and a real decision made in advance. So it happens less. And less over months and years becomes a different life than the one they had. And you don't fully notice that shift until you've already made it, which brings us to one of the strongest habits in-town sellers give up: Beltline access. Reynolds Town. For Reynolds Town sellers, Beltline access was part of the way they lived. When you're 4 minutes from the trail, it becomes the morning run, the after-work walk, the easy dinner plan, the way you get out without making it a whole thing. And once you move somewhere that requires driving to get back to that same lifestyle, it stops feeling automatic. Reynolds Town is a National Register of Historic Places district on Atlanta's east side. It runs from Pearl Street to Moreland Avenue, with Memorial Drive and the rail corridor to the south and DeKalb Avenue to the north. For people living there, the Atlanta Beltline was part of the answer to a simple question: what do you want to do tonight? The 22-mile loop of multi-use trails, parks, and future transit connects 45 neighborhoods across in-town Atlanta. The East Side Trail is complete at roughly 3.5 miles with walk-up access to Krog Street Market, Ponce City Market, historic Fourth Ward Park, and Piedmont Park. The Southeast Trail was confirmed fully open in spring 2026, extending that connection through Reynolds Town into Glenwood Park, Ormwood Park, and Grant Park. And the financial case for staying is documented too. Atlanta Beltline Inc.'s 2024 Housing Achievements Report shows that enrolled homeowners have seen their homes increase in value by nearly $50,000 on average. Across 250 participants, that adds up to over $10 million in combined appreciation. Peer-reviewed research found that homes within a half mile of the Beltline appreciated meaningfully more than comparable homes elsewhere in Atlanta during the study period. So proximity to the Beltline has had a measurable return. And when you add the Beltline's broader investment report with $23 billion in yearly economic impact and over 90,000 jobs supported across the area, you start to see why the trail has real weight in the market. All of this sets up what I think is the biggest realization in this video. Appreciation, Virginia Highland. Of all 7, this is the one that arrives last and cuts deepest. The regret from selling in Virginia Highland builds over the years until someone mentions what the house down the street just sold for, and you do the math you've been avoiding. Virginia Highland, remember, there's no S, is built around front porches, the walkable commercial stretch at Virginia and North Highland Avenues, and Beltline access through Piedmont Park. The homes here average over 90 years old. You have craftsman bungalows, 4 squares, and Victorians that the market has been trying to price out of reach for decades, and it still hasn't worked. Because you can't recreate this architecture, this street scale, or this kind of community density at the same price point somewhere newer in Atlanta. Earlier market reports showed average single-family sale prices in the high 800s to low 900s, with medians running just below that. Today, the median sales price sits in the high 700s, with current listings ranging from that to well past the $1 million mark. And then there's Porch Fest. The 5th annual Virginia Highland Porch Fest in May 2025 brought more than 40,000 people together, with over 100 musicians performing on more than 50 porches throughout the neighborhood. It became so popular that the 6th annual event this year became ticketed with capped attendance and doubled staffing because it had outgrown the free version of itself. The 2025 event raised over $75,000 for the Virginia Highland District Association in one day, funding street improvements, lighting, and neighborhood programming. But the neighbors get in free, and that's the lesson. A seller who held a Virginia Highland property through that appreciation cycle is looking at gains well into the 6 figures, not because of one lucky sale, but because the value kept building over time. When you sell in this place, you're selling your position in a market that keeps rewarding patience, in a neighborhood that keeps attracting the buyers who want what you had. The seller thought they were timing the market. In reality, they were leaving it. In-town Atlanta can build value in both ways over time. And once you've left, that's the part you can't get back. If you're sitting on an in-town Atlanta property and wondering whether now is the right time to sell, email me at hello@vcgrealty.com today. I can give you a clear read on what you'd be giving up right now. And if you own property anywhere in Metro Atlanta, in town, or further out, the video I've linked next is one you should watch before your next move. It breaks down the billions being poured into Atlanta's data center build-out and what that means for property values across the metro. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.